I don't know if that's permanent, if that's decided, or if that's what they're just prepping me for. But no, I don't need cuts till the last segment of this hour. I'm just talking COVID.
We're up on
Facebook or YouTube?
YouTube. Sorry.
Yeah. Wait, do what?
I think that's what Gabe told me too. Is the idea is that I was going to take over this full time, and then Taylor's going to do.
Yeah, the schedule that was mapped out for me doesn't make sense though, because it has 2 people in the same chair from 3 to 6.
That seems a little inaccurate. We're up. We're live.
Okay, good.
Cool. That only took 30 minutes.
Yep.
So apparently I'm not doing my stone like every day.
No, that's the part I couldn't figure out.
It's a half and half type thing. Because like I did it yesterday. I'm doing it Friday. Danny's doing it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Right. And I feel like you're trying to reinvent, like.
That's why did they do? Because he wants me to do the midday shows exclusively. So like, why don't you just have me do that? Because like right now, Danny's doing the midday shows, and I'm doing Moscone. I'm not going to be doing Moscone. I'm going to be doing the midday shows. So why would you?
638 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. All right, we're supposed to talk about COVID numbers right here. And Taylor, I told you we weren't using any LRN cuts in this segment, but we're gonna have to call an audible on the air, like working through this in real time. Did you hear the story in LRN just now, just a minute ago? All right, I apologize if the kids are getting ready for school right now. If they are, fair warning. There might be a few adult-like mentions within this segment. And we're going to get to the COVID numbers in just a minute. But as you heard Jeff Palermo report just a minute ago, by the way, cuts 11, 12, and 13, please. As you heard Palermo report just a minute ago, apparently COVID can cause erectile dysfunction?
I knew it. I knew it.
You thought it.
I knew it.
No, be careful with the phrasing.
I had a hunch.
Okay, yes, a hunch versus knowing are two different things.
My hunches are good, though. Like,
well, I'm just saying to know for certain would be to know for certain. Let's be very, very clear here. So you heard from Dr. Matthew Mutter. I wonder if that's... You heard from Dr. Matthew Mutter, who says when a man is fighting COVID, it causes systemic inflammatory response throughout the body.
Of fighting the coronavirus infection and having the systemic inflammatory response can cause decreased blood flow to the penis.
What? I'm already vaccinated, thank God. Already vaccinated. But is this a thing? Or is this going to turn out to be like myocarditis where it affects like next to nobody?
How hyped are the people making that little blue pill, though?
Bro.
I mean, they're thrilled.
I mean, how hyped are the people giving out vaccines right now? Like, if you had pardon the pun, if you had a conspiratorial bone in your body, wouldn't this trigger that? It's still too early if ED is a permanent or temporary side effect of the COVIDs, but Mutter says men with pre-existing conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and pulmonary issues are already vulnerable to ED.
COVID may just be one more strain on the body that can then put them over the edge to no longer have erectile function.
Can I get a second vaccine? You know what? I don't know how much more we can go on with this before anybody gets in trouble, so we're going to pause it right there. We've been adult and using medical terminology. It's going to go bad from here. Let's move over to COVID numbers. If you were paying attention yesterday, you saw a pretty huge number reported. 16,541 new cases of COVID-19 reported. Keep in mind that's over the course of the whole weekend. Now, last week we saw 5,000 and 6,000 per day. 16,000 over the course of 3 days would be right down the middle of that. 50 new deaths reported on Monday. The number in the hospital continues to rise. 2,720. 318 of them are on ventilators. One thing I'm taking note of is the number of folks on the ventilators this time around is so much lower than it was during the first phase. Now, does that mean that folks are not as sick as before, or does that mean we've just learned how to better utilize the ventilators? Probably the latter. But if you're looking around the state at ICU beds, which that's the thing that everybody's looking at right now, and that's the thing that we've learned is it's not as static of a number as you'd think. We learned yesterday about Our Lady of the Lake shifting how they're servicing ICU beds to where it's now one nurse per 4 beds versus one nurse per 2, which is how they normally handle things. Here in Baton Rouge, LDH is reporting that there are 21 ICU beds still available. There are 214 in use. Over in Region 3, the Acadiana region, there are 75 in use, 5 still available. Region 4 has 13 available. Region 5 is also, 8 available. One of the areas that's been getting hit the hardest is Region 9, who has 143 in use and 27 available. Now, you're hard-pressed to look at those numbers and think, oh, look, there's more beds available today than there were yesterday. The problem with thinking of it in those terms is, how'd those beds become available? Did people go home, or did people pass away? And we had 50 deaths over the weekend. By the way, looking at this thing from a total perspective since the beginning of COVID, we're now at 11,260 total deaths, 590,446 cases since the beginning. As far as vaccinations are concerned, as COVID numbers continue to spike, so do the vaccinations. I was telling you in a previous segment about or the opening segment of the show, which, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, welcome aboard. We're up and running. If you're not watching on YouTube but would like to, we're up and running. Get over there. 65,000 shots in arms from Thursday to Monday. We continue to line up at a pretty ridiculous clip, and the more people line up, the quicker we get out of this current surge, this current mask mandate, all the other current restrictions and everything. 65,589 shots since Thursday. Among those were 51,450 getting their first dose. So that's, 14,400 getting their second dose. So what we're going to continue to see over the course of this month is our fully vaccinated numbers going to remain low. But those first-timers are going to catch up in very, very short order. Second week of September, we should be caught up at a pretty good clip. So that's where we're at with COVID. Where are we at with Fred? Well, we're going to turn our eyes to the tropics in our next segment. Before we get to that next segment, though, I do have to tell you about the staycation still going on. Talk 107.3 is giving you a chance to enjoy a true Louisiana staycation on us at either the Renaissance or Watermark Hotels. Simply download the all-new Talk 107.3 mobile app and register. It's absolutely that easy. Each month, you can win a stay at the Watermark or the Renaissance. We draw 2 winners a month, one on this show, one on the J. Cody show. It's a staycation absolutely with the Watermark and Renaissance Hotels and Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk. By the way, our July winners for the stay at the Watermark, which is a one-night stay with a valet and dinner for 2 at the Gregory, John Williamson of Denham Springs was our winner. For the stay at the Renaissance, Jean Pennegy of Baton Rouge got a one-night stay with breakfast for 2 and dinner for 2 at Tallulah. So congratulations, and if you want to be our August winner, you could do so now by downloading the all-new Talk 107.3 mobile app. All right, we're due up for a break here in just a second. Going to talk what could be Tropical Storm Fred in very short order. What's it looking like for us? Well, it's still way too early to tell, but we'll get the early indicators on potential tropical cyclone number 6. Coming up next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM.
Okay, we're probably going to be back a minute early,
So hit BRPT,
Okay.
and then in the last segment, hit Movie.
Wait, say.
So hit BRPT before.
I already did.
You hit BRPT?
Yeah.
Okay, I was on the
You were on the phone. You were
hit
busy.
Movie before the 50 coming back in because we should be the
I figured.
And then we're caught up. Those are the only two that's not there.
All right.
Sorry about that, Facebook. We're a little late. YouTube. We're a little late this
YouTube.
morning. Some idiot couldn't figure out how to get us online. So
Yeah, do not even think about blaming yourself.
it is what it is.
No, Tiffany, it was not on purpose.
No, we did this strategically. Yeah.
No. She says, was it on purpose that you weren't on YouTube till after the ED discussion? No. It was Taylor was having trouble getting it up. The YouTube stream. The YouTube stream.
Yeah, you're gonna have a minute.
Okay.
Maybe a little less than a minute. We can
I'll do 2. That's fine.
This is
Why has BRPD stopped updating the crime data site? I'll ask.
It's not actually Fred, right? You just named it Fred. No, that's the actual name. Is that what we're calling it? What's the name of it? Yeah.
So every day that I have morning wood, does that? Got lunch plans yet? May I suggest Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes? They are located on Segan Lane, not too far from Industrialplex, and on Bluebonnet at Highland Road. My personal favorite is the Double Diablo, but if you don't like something that spicy, they make them to order. Fresh ingredients, cut every day, fresh buns baked every single day, and you get the certified Angus beef, top-notch quality ingredients throughout Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. Go see them today for lunch. Oh, grab a shake. I mean, why not? You deserve it. Real ice cream shakes at Mooyah. Let's get you to your money now on Talk 107.3. Yep, that's a bonus.
No, he was just early. So you yeah. We don't come back until 52. That's what I'm saying. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Just had some extra time.
Scusi. Let the jokes just flow on in.
No. This is traffic. No, weather we basically have. That's the one time. Traffic's yeah, I mean, they don't. No, I mean, only download it once. Right. They only do it once, but if it's raining or something, he'll get it. But they only send it to us once. Okay, so but you just play it. I played 3 times. You played at the beginning of the show. Yeah, 31. Yeah, and then every 4 times. Yeah. Yeah, because you do it once at the beginning of the show. Yeah. Come back in, bro.
Funny, Clinton. Very funny. All right, we're good. .652 Talk 107.3 FM and WBRP. CBS World News Roundup coming your way 7.5 minutes from right now. So, compared to last year, it's felt like a slow hurricane season, though we're right on pace to be above average. Barely above average. We're 2.5 months into the hurricane season, or 2 months and 10 days into the hurricane season. It runs through the end of November. Last year we saw 30 storms, which was going to skew everything. Last year's hurricane season was, walk with me through this comparison. Comparing anything to last year's hurricane season is like comparing anything to the 2019 LSU football season. It's just not going to be the same. You're not going to see those kinds of numbers anytime soon. That being said, things are quote-unquote heating back up as we now are looking at potential Tropical Cyclone 6. It'll be called Tropical Storm Fred, making its way through the Caribbean, potentially to the Gulf of Mexico by Saturday. State climatologist Barry Keim says Fred will ingest some dry air from the west, thus keeping it at a tropical storm for a bit. But in the meantime, we're going to have to watch its path here.
And it's expected to take a track along the greater Antilles. So it's going to affect Puerto Rico later today, Hispaniola tomorrow, and in eastern Cuba on Thursday.
Keim says as Fred makes its way across Hispaniola, its journey near the mountain range could determine its future development.
Those mountains could potentially rip this storm apart on Wednesday, so we'll definitely have to keep a close watch on this thing. That's going to loom large. If the storm tracks more north or south of Hispaniola, I think it could favor some further development.
Now, after Hispaniola, it's expected to drop back down to a depression, or after, I should say, the Dominican Republic and Haiti, expected to drop back down to a depression, then track along the northern coast of Cuba as a depression, then reinvigorate itself to a tropical storm by overnight Thursday into Friday morning, remain a tropical storm as it makes its way into the Gulf of Mexico, and should be about midway up Florida by about 2 a.m. Sunday. Those are the early tracks. Now, we know that things don't always play out the way the early tracks are showing, and it's just a slight a jog westward that will put Louisiana in front of the storm. And once Fred makes its way across into the Gulf, Keim says at that point, it's anybody's guess as to the storm's potential and the path as well.
It's still a long way out there. It bears watching for sure. I mean, in theory, the thing could blow up over Hispaniola, but if it does make it to the Gulf on Saturday, it's anybody's guess where it could go from there. So we'll definitely be watching this thing very, very closely.
Yeah, way too early. Way too early to try and project exactly where it will be and exactly how strong it will be. The National Hurricane Center is showing it at no greater than a tropical storm. When it comes to potential strength, this early, they're a lot closer than potential path this early. For sure. I haven't even reached out to Dr. Josh Eachus yet at WBRZ. He's their chief meteorologist. I haven't even reached out to him yet because of how early it is in the process. Because it just, hey, Josh, want to hop on to talk about the storm? Not yet. Not yet. Let's get some more information. Let's see this pass over a mountain range before we start making any calls here. So, that being said, we'll continue to watch it, continue to follow it, and not yet try to project it. 656 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Getting you to the CBS World News Roundup here in just a minute. Hey, I got to go back to another COVID topic real quick. And this is about blood donation. Kind of a PSA, if you will. Got a news release from the folks over at Vitalant the other day. As the South finds itself in another surge of COVID-19, hospitals are in need of blood donations now more than ever. Blood donation is considered an essential healthcare activity, and Vitalant is prepared to welcome volunteer donors into the center located on 1 Calais, 8234 1 Calais, by the way. They've got rigorous safety precautions in place, but quoting Julie Eaton, the regional director, she says, just this month we've already lost over 230 units of blood due to canceled blood drives and missed appointments. We are following all of the directives from the CDC to ensure that our donors and staff remain safe and healthy. This has been a problem that's kind of been lurking in the background, but hasn't been getting a lot of headlines. And summertime is traditionally bad for blood donation. Why? Because we're all creatures of habit, and over the summertime, we're out of our routines. We're traveling. We're not donating because, well, we're not in our regular time to donate. That being said, the need for blood does not go down. Add to that the pandemic, and we've got added problems. Back to the press release, it said, it's the blood already on the shelf that helps save lives during disasters and everyday emergencies. The Delta variant has forced Vitalant to cancel blood drives in affected areas, and with hurricane season next on the list, it's crucial to keep the donations coming. Donors in unaffected areas can help patients in their community or across the country as Vitalant's distribution networks help ensure blood is available when and where it's needed most. I didn't even think about it. We don't have blood drives right now. Like, when was the last time you saw a blood drive on location somewhere? They're just not doing them because of the pandemic. So if you're so inclined, if you have the ability, please swing by Vitalant on 1 Calais. Donate a pint of blood. Do it for free up a little bit of time in your week and swing on by. It doesn't take that long. It really doesn't. All blood types are welcome, but there's, of course, an urgent need for the O blood type. Type O is the most transfused blood type. O negative is what emergency room personnel reach for when there's not time to determine a patient's blood type, because O negative adapts to just about everybody. Or I shouldn't say just about. It adapts to everybody. And, I mean, it's the golden ticket of blood types. But they're not turning anybody away. It doesn't matter what your blood type is. They need it right now more than ever. I know it always feels like there's a call for donations, but this is a pressing problem that continues to grow in need and not grow in attention, because when is this going to make the headlines? So if you get a chance, 1 Calais is where you're going to find Vitalant, formerly United Blood Services, but now they're known as Vitalant on 1 Calais. We got CBS News coming your way in just a little bit. After CBS News, we've got top stories and trending. After that, Adam Knapp from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber is hopping on board. The Baton Rouge Area Chamber recently completed their small business survey. Small business is nowhere near done with this pandemic. There are many challenges remaining as businesses recover from the pandemic, and a fourth surge is not helping things. Mitigation measures are not helping things. What would really hurt things would be further shutdowns. We're going to talk with Adam Knapp from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber about what small businesses are facing in the 9-parish Baton Rouge Area Chamber area. We're also going to talk with Chief Murphy Paul next hour as well about what he's seeing on the streets of Baton Rouge. Right now, though, let's get you to CBS News here at the top of the hour. It's the CBS World News Roundup right here on Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk in Baton Rouge.
Oh, you do have to kick on CBS. Like, the only time you don't is at the top of the hour. I mean, right before the show. Okay. So, like, top of the hour, I have to kick it. You were asking me that earlier, and I said no, but you don't at the beginning of the show. Yeah, for like the 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock. Right?
You know, once the show is live, the show is live. We're not technically live until...
When the board's like dead or whatever. Yeah, same thing. Why do I have 5 segments? You do it. You switch like 5. Okay. Make sure you say today's date. Well, it's only in this one. Yeah, but it'll still change it. Just when you post the whole hour, make sure it has today's date. Because a long time ago, I didn't know that it had to be date, and it just recorded over every old one. Really? Yeah. So just like.
Yeah. Everything's going to be dated. Everything's going to be unique.
Those are fine. The segments are fine. But like when you post the full hour, like whatever you're going to post, make sure that has a date on it. Like we're just going to put it there temporarily because you're going to delete those in 10 minutes. So yeah, those are just the segments. I'm going to open it here. Yeah, I'll do mornings or today.
I'll be right back.
You can just keep that hour on there. Just make sure it's catching my ribs. Oh. No way. What is that? Like, medically? Your ribs? No. Catch. Like, Ron, what is it medically when you get like a catch in your ribs? Delta variant.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it like a nerve
COVID.
catching or something?
I don't know. What do you mean a catch in your ribs?
Like when you like go to turn and you feel like that sharp nerve pain. You never have that?
I don't.
You ever have that?
No, dude, sounds bad.
Dude, like,
I know what you're
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
No, I'm not being a dick. I just legit don't know.
Like, I always heard it called a catch. Like, catching your ribs. No?
Oh, a catch-22.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
No.
Like the TV show. The game show.
Is it a game show?
It is, actually, yeah. It's like a blackjack themed game show.
Okay.
GSM.
Yeah, we say that. All of us be saving when you say AFL.
Dude,
We're all counting on you.
That's a bad call.
I don't need to save anything. I have a folder for that. That's good work.
Do what?
That's good work.
COVID causes ED. That's the headline of the morning. Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, what about the vaccine?
I think the doctor that was reporting on it went to my high school.
His name's Ed?
His name is something Mutter, and I'm friends with his older brother.
Oh. New Orleans brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What'd I do with the damn? Oh, here it is. What's Mutter's first name? Matthew Mutter.
I used to go out with buddy motherfucker. Too soon?
Not at all. Never. Never.
Last day of this crap.
Right?
You already grew up in North Brownsville? Yeah.
You bored down there?
it's already in there now.
What do you mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
So where it says remove, that means it's in there. You can't remove it if
They
it's
didn't
not
get
there.
the try yet. Okay.
Yeah. And then it should be on that list.
Yeah. Must be.
Taylor goes out Friday. How many fucking days off does she have? Like, you know, you sound like my wife.
.705 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way. All right now, Brian here with you. Taylor Sharp producing. We got a busy hour coming this way. Adam Knapp from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber hops on board in about 10 minutes. Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul at 7:35. We do, however, start the hour off with top stories and trending.
Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second
A jet at the Baton Rouge airport briefly experienced engine failure while it was in the air Monday morning. Officials confirmed the craft was a corporate jet with 7 people on board. The aircraft reportedly landed safely around 9:30 a.m. Additional details surrounding that incident were not immediately available. One person was shot at an apartment building Sunday night following an altercation between 2 men. The East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office said one man was physically attacked by another at around 10:20 on August 8th at Abington Avenue. Deputies said the victim shot the suspect once. He was taken to a hospital. That victim is expected to recover. Pay raise is on the way for teachers in Central. They can expect a raise of up to $2,000 this year after the school board voted unanimously in approval of the extra pay. The school board voted Monday. That was yesterday. According to the school board, the increases are designed to maximize each employee's take-home pay. Teachers will receive $800 from the state plus $1,200 from the local district, and support personnel will get a raise of $1,000. The school board president, James Guttner, says those pay raises are supported with recurring revenues generated by the district's property millages. The current millage rates are what voters had approved for the district back in April. Told you about the potential of Tropical Storm Fred in our last segment. The National Hurricane Center will initiate advisories on potential Tropical Cyclone 6 at, they got started with the advisories at 4 p.m. yesterday. The system is located just east of the Lesser Antilles. A potential tropical cyclone is designated when a system is yet to officially take on tropical characteristics, but is expected to before affecting land. With the designation, the National Hurricane Center can begin issuing watches, warnings, and advisories. Well, another huge spike in COVID cases over the weekend. We broke this down a lot last hour. We continue to now on Monday. The state reported a total of 2,720 patients hospitalized with the coronavirus. That number was up 299 compared to Friday. So over a 3-day span, that's roughly 100 per day. Hospitals across the state reported 2,421 on Friday. The state saw a record high number of COVID hospitalizations on August 2nd. That number has only gone up over the past week. The Department of Health, by the way, reported another 16,541 cases since Friday, a positivity rate of about 14.5% on newly reported tests. By the way, vaccinations were up as well. Told you about this a lot last hour. 65,000 shots in arms from Thursday and through the weekend. That is a look at your top stories. Here's a look at what's trending this morning. The LSU Health Center was built atop a cemetery on the northern end of campus, likely atop what had been identified as the final resting place for enslaved plantation workers, according to a university professor. By the way, grabbing this one from I got it from the Advocate, but the story comes from the Reveille. Andrew Slyter, S-L-U-Y-T-E-R, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, a professor in LSU's Department of Geography and Anthropology, has researched the university for years, developing vast knowledge of the campus's history. After seeing reports about slave cemeteries beneath campuses of multiple southern universities, Slyter theorized the same could be true here. Quote, I was reading through newspaper articles about different universities in the South, finding these old slave cemeteries on their campus. So I started looking at the old maps, and sure enough, there was a slave cemetery right on the edge of what will become LSU property. Slyter reviewed century-old documents from surveyors who work with architects after the university's purchase of the current campus grounds in 1918. The university purchased that site for the current campus from the Guttner plantation in 1918, began construction in 22. Wouldn't be until 32 that the university was completely moved from the previous downtown campus. Built on a slave cemetery? Always more interesting stuff coming out of LSU. That's top stories and trending. We are going to take a quick break in about 60 seconds from right now. Before we take that break, though, got to ask you if you've downloaded the Matherns app yet. This makes things so easy, especially with the mask mandate back in effect. If you don't want to get out of your car to get your grocery shopping done, if you want to get your grocery shopping done before you even leave work, download the Matherns app right now. Do your grocery shopping before you leave work. Pull into Matherns on Nicholson at Skip Burtman Drive or downtown. The location on 3rd Street has this available as well. Pull in, they'll bring the groceries right out to your car. Boom, you're done. Boom, you've saved time. Boom, you're not having to put on a mask to go inside. And boom, you are not contributing to spreading the coronavirus. full-service grocery store at either the downtown location or the one on campus on Nicholson, right across the street from Tiger Stadium. Full-service grocery store, but also a great lunch spot as well, whether that be the salad bar, the deli counter, or the sushi bar that they have as well. However you want to go about it, Mathern's has got you covered. I know we're a little early on in the week to start talking craft beer, but check out the craft beer selection while you're there as well. Mathern's, downtown on 3rd, or Nicholson at Skip Burtman Drive in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. Download the Mathern's app today. I got to get right, man. I'm not feeling it at all today. I don't know what that means. The building's already built. Deal with it. What does that mean? Adam Knapp's the head of the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. What?
Fast talker again. Just talking about Murphy Paul. I'm like, dude, he's not even on. Okay, this guy calls in all the time, and he thinks tinted windows are the biggest fucking deal. I don't know. Literally every time he calls, he goes, "That's Murphy Paul. I see a bunch of people riding around town with tinted windows. Like, well, people are like killing each other in the streets. Who kind of give a fuck about tinted windows?" Yeah. It's like, if you wanted your honest answer. Like, I was like, I'll answer it for him. He doesn't give a fuck about tinted windows.
Hey, the person who wanted to know about the data, what website are you going to that is not showing you new data?
It's BRAC all caps, yeah. And then like once they're talking about something, you use it. It's like they kind of discuss it. Where's Adam?
I'm sure he'll be up in a minute. There he is.
Talk 107.3. Yes, sir. It was like 30 seconds.
.714 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. So, the fourth surge of the coronavirus, the Delta variant being out there, the reinstatement of the mask mandate, all these things are not helping when it comes to small business. Baton Rouge Area Chamber publishes their analysis of the Regional Small Business Survey. Here to break that down and talk about a few other things is Adam Knapp, head of the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Adam, welcome back, sir. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
No, glad to have you on here. Glad to be talking about this because hopefully we're starting to see some movement forward for small business in the area. What did the survey tell us?
So what we wanted to do, first of all, is make sure we're giving people a standard way to find information. So this is going to be something we're going to do every 6 months or so. What this tells us is we have an outlook that's on the long term positive, but you're still seeing kind of companies reporting the effect of it. A couple of things that jumped out to me in the data: just a little over 50% of businesses took advantage of the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. And you know how many times we were on your show over the last year explaining the benefit of this and how it would work and how folks could find use of it. Still, only about half of businesses used it. Of small businesses were able to use that or chose to use that program. Let me say that, which is really staggering for those who got it. Like, this is an incredible lifeline of a financial resource. But still only about half of businesses chose to use it. There's another really staggering thing that jumped out to me is there's another financial benefit that small businesses can use called the Employee Retention Tax Credit. And only 2% of small businesses said that they have used that yet. And it's an incredibly flexible and useful tax tool that nearly every small business should be using as a way to kind of help going to find a financial buoy inside of their business where the tax code is helping you, mind you. So these are a few things that jumped out to us, that there's a lot of role to play for businesses to kind of seek guidance and a financial assist. That if they need it, there's resources out there that can help them.
It's amazing to see that level of difference, though. More than 50% for PPP, but then this retention tax credit, you said only 2%?
2, that's right. It was amazing, and it's an incredibly flexible and relatively simple thing. If you get, you need a CPA or somebody to do it for you, frankly, but you put it in their hands. It actually includes money to help pay for their cost of doing the service for you to get it, and then it helps you kind of pull some cash back into your company for the employees you kept on during the kind of the worst of the pandemic. It's very flexible to help give you credit for doing that during the pandemic, and that money can be used now kind of brought forward into your current business operation. So things like that jumped out to us. There's a lot of resources that are out there for small business that small businesses haven't taken advantage of as much as we would have assumed they would.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that the amount of awareness that was put on PPP, that awareness drop-off would be so stark as to have that level of drop-off in participation. Right. It's wow, that is a shocking number to say the least.
The other thing that I think is important to say, and I think it's important to step back, and I encourage folks to take a look at it. You can find it at BRAC.org to read our small business survey that was just released yesterday afternoon. The other thing I think that is so important to pay attention to, two things. One, any employer today who's still worried about the effect of the spike in cases, right? So I think the main conversations we're having with employers the last few days is just the serious number of people. We're already in a period of labor shortage, and you have a lot of folks who are having to be quarantined or stepping out of their offices just because of exposure right now as the Delta variant kind of spreads through the state and the nation. And those are, compounding labor shortage issues for a lot of employers right now. So I want to just reiterate something we said a few weeks ago on the show. Anybody of almost any business size can have a vaccine program where one of our hospital partners or healthcare partners will come out and offer to set up a kind of a vaccine offering. Right? This is voluntary, of course, to run these and for your employees. But if you want to make sure that more of your employees are getting access to vaccinations, we made it really simple. There's a list of phone numbers and email addresses of the direct point of contact at every hospital that will or healthcare provider that will help set you up for your vaccine program, whether you have 10 employees or 5,000. So look it up and you'll find that at BRAC.org/recovery.
Yeah, I know we already had one run through here at Guarantee. I don't know if we got another one in the works for those that weren't able to take advantage of the first, but it's proven to keep a lot of people in the building for sure. In the meanwhile, how are mask mandates playing out within businesses throughout the region? Has BRAC got any feedback on whether or not more businesses are more likely to just send people back home rather than force them to wear a mask within the headquarters or their building?
No, we haven't heard any real significant effect one way or another on the mask mandate for those who were likely to comply and follow the rules. Like their staff had already been wearing masks, especially if they're retail or customer facing. They were already doing so in many cases. It's really on the customers walking through or the office staff walking around in the business, whereas it's a mixed bag for compliance, I think. It still remains important to do, and I think what we all are wanting to avoid is anything really serious in terms of worse restrictions. We don't expect them, but we definitely want to try to avoid them. The numbers that we saw in the last couple of days of hospitalizations, the trends continue to rise in the wrong direction, right? So I think it's still super important for business owners to continue to think about how to encourage their employees to do so, but really they also just motivating folks to opt into vaccination programs if there's out there. And we're hopeful, of course, when the FDA hopefully releases the final approval of the vaccination, that will help also give folks confidence that these are market ready.
Yeah, it's got to be weird in an office setting where it's not walk-in customer driven, where it's the same crew, the same pod of people that's been in the office every single day, and all of a sudden it's like, well, we weren't wearing masks yesterday, but we have to today, even though it's the same group of people that's been together from the start. It just
That's right.
got to be a
right.
weird vibe. Got to be a weird vibe.
And all I think you can say at this point is, look, you wouldn't be in this boat if we didn't have 40% of East Baton Rouge has gotten their vaccine fully, and we're at, I think, just over 40% kind of region-wide in the Parish region. So we've still got a long way to go.
Well, and the program you were talking about just a minute ago is going to prove to be huge in the coming weeks as well, as we're seeing the along with the rise in COVID, the number of people getting vaccinated right now, the number of people getting their first shot over the last 2 weeks has been fantastic. I mean,
it's been jumping rapidly. That's right. So the good news on the horizon is folks are accepting. They're hearing more folks getting it, not having bad repercussions, and that motivates them to take it. But we're also seeing, look, that when you have close to 90% of folks that are in the hospitals with COVID are unvaccinated, it's a clear signal that the vaccines have an effectiveness.
So that's enough with COVID bad news. Is there good news from the survey?
There is. I think the important thing that sort of the takeaway toward the end is a sense of optimism among small businesses that the economy is getting better. And I think that's where you'd see kind of a sense of confidence, is that there's a belief that their businesses are going to be hiring more and their businesses are getting better overall in terms of activity. So I think there's a general sense of optimism toward the end that the economy is still rising and getting better. That plays out, by the way, with what our staff are seeing in business development activity. We probably have seen a more significant pickup in companies that are looking for new business locations in the last 2 months. Just a huge rise in activity of companies that are looking for expansion plans. So those are the kinds of things you want to see happening. Folks are planning and starting to make investment decisions, and that's also looking like the same thing inside of small businesses.
Well, if I can tie this into a little promo, if you're a small business looking to make an expansion, I believe BRAC's got a series coming up about planning beyond the pandemic. Do you not?
We do. And I'm thrilled when you always give me a nice tee-up. So we started a look at how to give folks small business guidance and advice, and we'll be launching a small business seminar series. There'll be 3 in a row on things you can do inside of your business to improve kind of your own business activity. So if you have time at 3:30 on Thursday, these are going to be all virtual, so you can access them from your own offices. Join us for this first series. It's going to be business planning beyond the pandemic, growth strategies for growing your business. And we've got some guests that are going to be coming, business consultants, are going to be joining us for 3 different seminars. This will be the first, and really encourage folks to come in and start, working on your business, not for your business. And this is going to be something that I think is important for folks to get more engaged in. Before that, actually, Wednesday this week, so tomorrow at 11 a.m., our annual Diversity in Business event presented by Taylor Porter. We're really thrilled to have a leader from AT&T coming in to talk about diversity in their business nationally. It's really great keynote speaker. Eric Mitchell, the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion for AT&T, is going to come in and talk about what that looks like inside of their company. And we've seen some amazing companies in Baton Rouge doing some amazing things. We will also announce our annual award, the Diversity Star Award, as well. So join us at 11. The keynote will be from 11:30 to 12 for the Diversity in Business event. And the last event that I'm also really excited to mention, coming up on August 19th, for a lot of folks that are concerned about issues of drainage, we have HNTB coming to give a talk called The Hell of High Water, tackling drainage in East Baton Rouge. And they're going to come on and talk about the Stormwater Master Plan, what it's for, what does it do, what is it going to tell us when it's finished, and is there a solution or a set of solutions out there that will help to kind of alleviate a lot of the flooding and drainage issues in East Baton Rouge. So join us to listen to HNTB speak about drainage issues. It's August 19th at 11:30.
Yeah,
all of these are at brac.org/events.
We are in a weird spot when it comes to drainage because we're finally seeing the proper amount of attention paid to it, and we're starting to see some funds make their way into it as well. But it's that waiting game of how many times is it going to rain before dollars turn into work.
That's right. And look, I want to give you a teaser since we haven't released it yet. This Thursday we'll release our latest COVID dashboard. We do this once a month now to give kind of a picture of the recovery, a few bright spots that you'll see in there, in addition to what you said a moment ago, Brian, is that the data shows the spike in folks that are getting the vaccines, and that we've kind of pushed out some information about what that looks like. You'll also see that overall, during the summer months, hotel occupancy is actually up over both 2020 and 2019 levels. So you're seeing a picture of kind of, again, this is 2 weeks ago, but still a nice rise in overall tourism activity, summer travel activity impacting and benefiting the Baton Rouge area. And you'll see also in the data, whether those two things are connected, they probably are, that consumer spending has been up and remains up, well up over pre-pandemic levels, depending on which parish you're in, which just shows that there's a confidence overall in the economy that still plays out in terms of how consumers are spending dollars.
I'm glad you brought up tourism, because I got to ask about it, because this fourth surge is starting to show the effects with cancellations and things like Jazz Fest down in New Orleans. There are no planned changes to the college football season. Are we too early out to see if that's going to affect travel when it comes to people coming to town for LSU football? Because that is big business in Baton Rouge.
Well, I think the big difference is the vaccine, right? So I think we didn't have that a year ago in this moment. And so will that give folks confidence to travel, those who have gotten it or have other immunity from just having gotten COVID, whether they become more confident to be out there and about. So our sense is that we should feel a little better heading into college football season about travel. And you continue to see that airlines are supporting overall decent numbers. So we're still optimistic that that's going to work in our favor toward the fall. But it's still early. I think we got to pay close attention, and that's why we keep emphasizing vaccinations and close employer safety programs.
Got Adam Knapp from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber with us for about 2 more minutes here. Adam, before I get you out of here, one more on the small business survey, if we could. And it's kind of like the worst news you could talk about when it comes to business. How many businesses from the beginning of COVID till now have had to permanently shut their doors?
So this is a number that I think we have to be careful in making some assumptions about what this is going to play out to look like. Right now, it's had a much smaller effect overall than I think we thought it would be. What we saw in the data was about 17% of companies, and I'm going to answer your question saying that, like, what was interesting to me was about 17% said that they're worried about not making it through the current period. So there's a still significant amount of fear out there about folks that have a concern about what it's going to do inside of their business.
Right.
We had a significant concern. We still have a significant concern about folks that are going to just close their doors and quit on this activity, just to give up overall. And that has not been a positive story you want to talk about, but one that we've been worried about. And the reason we're launching a small business technical assistance program is primarily for that reason. 60% said that their overall business activity had remained the same or gotten better.
Okay.
36%, so a little more than a third, said that they'd seen a decrease overall in their capacity as a business. So it gives you a picture of kind of the overall decline of activity for folks and what their business activity has looked like.
Okay, well, I mean, it's not as bad as it could be, and the fact that the Baton Rouge Area Chamber is being proactive about it, I think, is probably the best takeaway from that.
And that's what I think is we're going to continue to do. What we've been doing since the beginning is making sure we push out resources and information to folks. We'll have shortly a launch of a new small business technical assistance resource that we're going to have internally, kind of an expanded capacity to be able to offer businesses coaching and guidance, financial counseling to help them think through the tools that are out there and how they can be used to help your business. And then, in addition, of course, you can always reach out to us, and we'll connect you to the Small Business Development Center or other programs that are there to help coach you through how to navigate these complex times. And I really want to encourage any businesses or small business owners or independent operators who want coaching and guidance to reach out to us. We've got a lot of resources we can get you in touch with.
And we appreciate the updates in the meanwhile. Adam Knapp from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. We always appreciate the time, man.
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks. Here's CBS News. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am doing well. How about yourself? Yeah.
Early in the morning.
What's the breakdown here? How we? What do we start?
Where we going? If you want to start with the homicide rate, from there we can go to some data. You know,
I actually had somebody on our Facebook or about Open Data BR. It hadn't been reported since January.
correct. I took care of that.
Okay.
If you want to go into arrest data, gun seizures, I can do that. And then let's go to some stories, some citations. That's the good work. These guys are doing.
Absolutely. I need you to excuse me for 1 second. I got to run down to my desk real quick. I'll be right back.
No, I'm good. You sure? Yeah, I'm fine. All right, if you need one, we got plenty. No, man, I need this thing. I really do. Thank you, though.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, dude, I'm not being
Oh, vacation.
Oh, vacation was brilliant. Loved DC.
I mean, they let me get away.
We knew it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Kids loved it. All three 13-year-old, 9-year-old, 5-year-old all got something different out of the trip. Yeah, turned it into an impromptu college tour for the 13-year-old. She's going to be a freshman in high school this year. So started introducing her to some different campuses throughout the Southeast and whatnot because we drove to D.C. While we were in D.C., she fell in love with Georgetown. And I'm like, you would fall in love with the $56,000 a year college, wouldn't you? Yeah.
You have to punch in the little button and it tells you which batteries to get.
Mm-hmm.
It's 6 possible batteries for my truck, right? All the
It's-
other
it's gonna tell you the most-
$70 range.
It-
They didn't have none of them. Guess which one they had?
The one for $220, yeah.
$130. I was like,
Exactly. But yeah, she fell in love with Georgetown.
Yeah, camp is beautiful.
Oh, it's
I've never
gorgeous.
been there with
It's yeah, I mean, it's all like older than anything down here for sure. But no, that was just one part of it. We toured Ford's Theater, which this is my third trip to DC. My first time doing that, where Lincoln was shot. It's still an active theater. Yeah, I mean, it's you're familiar. Well, about the size of what's the one at the Shaw Center? The it's about that size. Yeah, it's not as small as I would have thought. About the size of the Orpheum down in, well, a little smaller than the Orpheum. We met the mascot. Kevin, we met the mascot. Just walking around, they got a bulldog. They got a live bulldog as their mascot, and there was a student worker just walking the bulldog, and my daughters were like, "Oh, look at the dog! Can we go pet the dog?" And of course, you got to ask the owner, and they're like, "Hey, can we pet the dog?" And she had this like trained response, like it was a very formal answer. Yeah, and I'm like, that sounded rehearsed. Did we by any chance happen upon the mascot randomly? And she's like, "Yep."
What was her response?
I don't remember it. It was about. It wasn't as simple as "Yeah, go ahead." It was. It had instructions in it. So. Yeah, we basically no. Very very litigious. How you been, Chief?
Been all right. Been all right. Just First day of school. Yeah.
Yeah.
This thing is not the Crime Stopper segment.
No, it's not the Crime Stopper.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to.
No. Yeah, school's back in what grade? Or grades?
So we got 2 in the 11th, 1 in the 10th, and 1 in the 5th.
Wow. All over the board.
And 1 start LSU. We move him in Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, he starts.
He's staying on campus.
Yeah, we moving him on campus.
So there's gonna be some moving.
Yeah.
Oh, that's always fun.
So we've been getting little refrigerator, and we want.
Best part is they make you move in during the hottest part of the summer. Huh?
Yeah, yeah. He's looking forward to get out the house.
Hey, I think we're going 2 segments all the way to the top of the hour, so I'm going to push outside in back to heat up. 737 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Happy to welcome in Baton Rouge's Police Chief Murphy Paul to the show. Chief Paul, welcome back. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. How are you today, sir?
I am doing well. Plugging right along as summer is winding down. I guess the very first place we should start is the last thing we were talking about off air before hopping on was I guess school zones are back in effect.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Be aware of that. Our kids are back in school, so we need to be mindful of that and make sure that we obey not just traffic laws, but pay even more attention to those school zones.
Absolutely. Now, let's move from there to talking about the summer as a whole. How have we looked through Baton Rouge and throughout the summertime?
Well, you know, when it comes to crime, we're seeing some success in terms of the operations that we have in place to track the strategies from our PS1 strategy, where we actually are intentionally patrolling specific areas where the data. We made those adjustments. Right now, we're at about a 30% increase in homicides.
Okay.
Those numbers were far greater as we started, so we're starting to see that. But we're going to continue those operations from our strategies doing that. Working with our federal partners. There are some federal initiatives where we've made some significant arrests with our federal partners on individuals who are involved in violent crime in the city of Baton Rouge. So we're hoping that those enforcement actions will help as well.
Let's stick with that homicide rate for just a minute, because it was just a few months ago. Heck, it was a month ago, I guess, where it was looking really bad. Have things cooled off this summer? Not, I mean, temperature-wise, but have the homicide rate? Are we catching up to being closer to where we used to be?
Well, we're at 30% right now increase.
Right.
Right now, we're sitting on 72 actual homicides for the year in the city of Baton Rouge. I believe we've had 1 homicide in the month of August. So we're going to, the numbers are 30%, but it's too soon to tell.
Okay.
We're going to have to wait to the end of the year to see how those numbers play out. But we see some areas of improvement in terms of that.
I know I've asked you this before, but is there not to call it a homicide calendar, but are there trends to when we see more in Baton Rouge as far as, does it follow along with summertime is normally worse, or certain months of the year are normally worse, or did COVID disrupt all that?
And, well, the numbers are totally different since COVID. More daytime shootings, you probably see that.
Yes.
More female victims, you see that. Historically, yeah, your summer months were your hot months. But if you look at 2018, 2019, because of many of our efforts and programs that we had during the summer months, we were able to actually get those numbers down. And in 2020, we've seen that increase again. So even this year, as we began our programs this summer, unfortunately, with the current pandemic, we're not able to see all of those programs through. But traditionally, historically, summer months have been your most active months when kids are out of school.
Let's talk a little bit about data. You were talking about data and following the data to patrol certain areas. What is that data telling you as far as where it's pointing the department?
Well, look, we know that when it comes to the data, it's several areas we target. We know they're disinvested communities, areas where we have our high calls for service. We've been very strategic in those areas and deploying assets at specific times. We have some success in those areas, but it's typically crime is a socioeconomic issue. So we follow the data, but unfortunately, what we're seeing since 2021, we're seeing some of the same issues we've seen in 2020. A lot of domestics, closer relationship between the suspects and victims in these cases. Following up on multiple shooting incidents where a resident has been shot at or a person has been shot at multiple times. Working with community organizations to try to disrupt violence by intervention with some of the street teams that are out there trying to engage youth, trying to engage those in group violence, and trying to prevent that next incident from happening. So trying to de-escalate feuds of beef that we see, unfortunately, in the streets of Baton Rouge.
How's the de-escalation effort working? Because I know throughout the pandemic, physical contact or building relationships kind of had to be put on the shelf because of the pandemic. You couldn't have as much contact as I know you'd like to with the general public. Are we seeing a return to those efforts? Are we seeing any progress with those efforts?
Well, you're speaking of the interaction with our law enforcement officers. Yeah. Well, we last year obviously we started our real-time crime center and our efforts for the telephone reporting unit to help minimize our interaction with the public because we didn't want to spread and obviously do our part to social distance. We're starting to see increases in that area again, directing complainants or to take reports over the phone so that we can do our part. I think there's success when we engage the community in events, and that interaction is not based on a negative stimulus, a call for service. We're able to have conversations. We just saw this with our night out against crime that we had last week, where when you're having conversations, conversations come up about what's going on in their community. And in many of those cases, you get information about crime. You get information about how we can do our job better. So anytime we're able to interact with the public and it's based on a positive stimulus, it's a win-win situation for us.
I want you to share a couple of anecdotes, if we could, about what's going on the streets of Baton Rouge. But before we get to that, I got one more data question for you. You know I like to follow analytics, and I love transparency. Open Data BR has not been reporting since January. Is there a glitch in the system, or has stuff moved somewhere?
No, that's we switched over to last year we went to a new CADS, and then we went to a new records management system. In that conversion, our IT department, informational services, there's been some technical difficulties, some issues with that. We're still waiting to resolve that. We're actually manually entering information right now. We're a little behind on our required federal reporting requirements. So hopefully that we can push the data out. The data is inaccurate data. We believe that sending data that's not correct is not the right way to do it.
Right.
We'll take the hit as it relates to not having it and just explaining that there's some issues with the new system, and then we'll put all of that data out once we know the data is accurate.
Okay, fair enough. And as the general public will have access to it at that point.
Absolutely.
Good deal. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on out on the streets right now. Just if we could, just share a story, because we hear what's reported crime-wise. We hear, a shooting at this location or arrest made at this location, but let's get a little bit deeper, a little more personal.
Sure. We got police officers out there saving lives every day.
Yes.
Just this weekend, I believe it was the Advocate reported on one of our officers, Antonio Williams, who actually responded to a domestic incident and was able to get in, save the life of the victim in this particular case, and take the suspect into custody. But had he not responded as quickly as he did and was able to de-escalate the situation so that he can use the appropriate amount of force, who knows how that incident would have ended up. And here's a young man who goes out there, put his life on the line every day, and he loves coming to work every day. Keeps a smile on his face every time you see him, you know. And then we have our top cop, Corporal Hurley, who's up for top cop. Here's a young man who's out there patrolling, taking that extra step to pick up casings on the street to help detectives and their investigative efforts for shots fired incidents. He's on a call. While he's on that call, he notices a fire. He actually goes in there, start getting people out their homes, start saving lives. Never thought a second thought. He just went in and saved lives and actually had to get treatment because he took in some smoke. But those are the stories you don't hear about. And, you know, we're preparing for our award ceremony. Gino is putting that together. And I got all of these citations from supervisors on all the great work men and women have been doing. The shooting incident that happened on Sherwood Forest. We talked about our police officers just happened to be in the area, heard the shots fired. But what we don't talk about is...
Wait, which one is this?
This is the one that was on Florida Boulevard. Florida Boulevard after a concert, several people were shot, maybe 5 or 6, a couple of fatalities. But our police...
Florida Sherwood?
I don't remember the exact
I think
address,
that might be because you'd mentioned Sherwood, which I live in Sherwood.
I'm sorry, it was.
That's why my ears picked up real quick.
I apologize. It was on Florida Boulevard.
Okay.
At a bar, but our police officers heard the shots fired. When they heard the shots fired, they responded, and in the midst of chaos, they're saving lives. They're putting tourniquets on individuals who are shooting victims, providing care until EMS arrived. So we don't know how many lives were saved that day, but we do know is that our police officers went in the midst of chaos, saved lives, and that's happening every day here in Baton Rouge. Stories of our police officers going that extra mile and being the public servants that they are, and still coming to work, even in this current environment where law enforcement is challenging times.
It is, and especially throughout the summertime, where we recognize all the anniversaries of the news stories that have brought us to this, like the stories, and they're from all over the country, but that have brought us to this. We got to take a quick break here in just a second. Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul is going to stick with us for one more segment. We're going to talk about getting some illegal guns off the streets in our next segment. Got to get you to your money now here briefly, but first got to tell you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. Check them out online, CompleteCollision.com, CompleteCollision.com. They have 2 locations, one on Plank Road up in Zachary, one at the corner of Bluebonnet and Perkins. It's actually on Perkins, just east of Bluebonnet. Full service at both locations, and they have the certifications to make sure you are back out on the road safely. Certified by more than a dozen major car manufacturers. They also have the iCar Gold Class certification. When you get into an accident, a lot of stuff happens very, very fast. You got to make sure everybody's okay. Then you got to assess your damage. Then you got to figure out where you're taking your vehicle. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. We continue with Chief Murphy Paul next on Talk 107.3. All righty then. Let's see. Oh, Ivan seems to be mad.
Who that?
It's somebody who clearly doesn't like you.
What he said?
He says your answer about the data thing is BS. I don't
No,
where he's. I don't know.
I mean, I could give you any data you want. That's IT.
Yeah.
That's
those are facts. There was some glitches, and they're still trying to work it out. Yeah.
Haters are haters. It is what it is. Let's talk about getting some illegal guns off the streets when we come back.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We've made 2,000 arrests so far.
2,000 arrests?
2,074 arrests have been made department-wide as of 8/20/21. Yep.
Wait, we're not up to 820 yet.
No, 8/20. In other words, as of this month, as of Yeah.
Okay, I thought you
2021.
8
No, no.
slash 20 slash 20. You said 8 slash 2021.
No.
All right.
No. As of today, yeah.
Chief Paul, tell us who's getting arrested over the next 10 days.
Yeah. Approximately 363 of those were misdemeanors. 1711 of those were felonies. So 1,711 of those were felonies, yeah. 656 firearms have been entered into evidence this year. Of those, 117 entered firearms were found. Okay, 108 stolen firearms were entered into, so we recovered 108 stolen. 656 firearms have been entered into evidence.
You said 117 of what?
That's like entered firearms were considered found on personal property. So what was critical is 108 were stolen firearms that were entered. So that's how many we recovered, 108. Yeah, and I don't that open data BR, that's actually under our information services. IT pulls that data from our RMS system.
Okay.
We went to a new RMS system, and there's been some challenges.
It took us a half an hour to get on YouTube this morning. IT
Yeah.
challenges are not unique to any one particular area. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not sweating it.
we have meetings every month about the progress on that. And just to simplify, to give you an example. So it's not just that, it's user error. So when we go to get the data, the all records management system, let's say there's an incident, a shooting incident, or homicide, and I do the report. Well, we do what's called supplemental reports. So a supplemental report means, obviously I do a report, there was a shooting incident. Supplemental report may be, I interviewed someone on another date, or I arrested someone on another date. Well, every time you enter that system in the old system, you would have to put the charges in again. So every time I do a supplement, I would have to put what the charges are again and repeat that information in the system every time. The new system doesn't do, the new system populates the information.
Right.
So once I've entered it once, I don't have to re-enter it again.
That seems like it's the way it should be.
But we're conditioned to do it. So every time guys will do a supplemental,
Gotcha.
they will re-enter that information over and over again.
Yeah.
So one incident looks like 3 or 4.
Gotcha.
And when we caught that, it's like, whoa. So you got to manually go back and address those incidents. So it's part user error, not just technology. That's just one example of what we were faced with.
Why does this? Okay. I know. By the way, my apologies. I don't know how you ended up with the bum chair. I went ahead and lowered mine.
What? What happened? Why you call it a bum truck?
Well,
I
because
was looking on the camera, I was like, Chief Paul's way shorter than I thought.
it's lower. The height. Watch.
Pull it up. Oh.
That's why we call it the bum chair. Here.
No, I'm good.
You sure?
I'm good. Yeah. Yeah.
I looked over. I'm like, I'm not taller than you. Why am I so high up here?
You're just trying to be intimidating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I am intimidating. Right. No, I went ahead. I don't know if you noticed. I
he's
lowered my chair midway through the
trying
segment.
to
I'm
force
like,
his dominance on me today, you know?
Yeah, well, I'm not thinking about it at 5:45 in the morning.
Brian, no matter how tall you get, you cannot outweigh this uniform. Okay? Just let you know. This badge rules. Okay?
It does.
Yeah, we gotta find ways to lift the spirits of our law enforcement officers today. You had increase. You had a 40+% increase in. This is national data, not our data, but national data. Over 40, maybe 43+% increase in resignations in law enforcement.
Yeah. 7:56 to Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Got about 3.5 minutes as Chief Paul sticking around for one more segment. The Outside In presented by BRPT Late going to come your way in our 8 o'clock hour. We'll start off the 8 o'clock hour with this, but wanted to cover a little more ground with Chief Paul here, and I appreciate the time this morning. Thank you so much. Let's talk numbers. Let's talk a little bit about, honestly, pulling illegal guns off the streets is an important number to discuss, but let's back things up. Overall numbers so far for 2020.
Yeah, so our police officers have been making arrests. They're out there identifying who those bad actors are. So far this year, the numbers, according to our criminal records division, we've made over 2,074 arrests this year, and the majority of those were felonies. Over 1,700 of those arrests were felony arrests. So we are putting people in jail. So far this year, our evidence has taken it over 656 firearms. I believe 108 of those firearms recovered were stolen property that had been recovered. So we are seizing guns off the street. Last year, I believe the numbers was a little over 1,500 guns were seized by our police officers. That is correct. So we are arresting actors, bad actors. We are putting individuals in jail, and we're seizing guns.
Pulling those guns back in, is that a matter of just over the course of arrest, or is that on the like the different programs where you bring back, you offer to return a gun type of program that?
Well, I'm confused with your question.
I don't know if y'all have even had any this year because of COVID, but there's been like gun return programs, gun buyback programs, or whatever, where like a gift card for gas is offered, that sort of thing. Do y'all even do that anymore?
Yes, I think we did that once this year in an unincorporated area.
Do those numbers count towards that 656?
If they were entered as evidence, they would.
Okay.
But those numbers, as you well know, are not significant numbers in terms of the numbers that they generate. So it would be statistically big. But we've only done one in the past couple of years, if that serves me correct.
Got about a minute left with you, and you were mentioning before we came back, while we were during break, you were mentioning about the overall national numbers when it comes to police retention is not ideal right now.
No, I think last year was at about a 6.6, 6.8% turnover ratio, 6.4. This year we're looking at about a 6.8 to 7% turnover ratio in the department. Those numbers are not as challenging as we're seeing in other areas, but we want to retain all of our police officer recruitment, and retainment is so important. We've had conversations. You're going to see more recruiting efforts through the media with us. We're making a pitch to use those ARP dollars, American Rescue Plan dollars, to help us with that as well. So we're being creative. We're continuing to push. We have an academy class in right now, and we are currently pushing for our next academy class.
He is Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul. Chief, we always appreciate the time, sir.
Yes, sir.
Here comes CBS News on Talk 107.3.
Street operations. I know there's a street racer. There's a ordinance that's being pushed this week.
For what?
Drag racing.
Oh, dude, Florida Boulevard on the weekends. Forget about it. I could hear it from my house.
So our operation we started, and if you want to mention this, we were targeting airline in Florida, Seagan Lane, Choctaw, Sherwood Forest, and even the downtown area. Since April, 170 traffic tickets issued, 10 DWIs, 14 people booked, 54 vehicles towed, 11 handguns recovered since July 1st, 5 assault rifles recovered since July, involved in those street race operations.
What's amazing to me is where headquarters is versus where they choose to post up, and I'm like,
are we live on Facebook?
You and me. Ivan, it's BS because you say it's BS. That doesn't jive. Like, what? Tell me why it's BS. And your response is going to be exasperation. Of course it is. Just tell me why it's BS. Honestly answer that. I'd love to hear that. That was embarrassing.
I noticed like halfway through. I didn't want to say.
Did you see me lower my chair?
Because I was like, it's too late now.
It was too late at that point. I'm like,
So I looked at the camera and I was like, why is Brian a foot and a half taller than this dude?
hey, Ivan, what's your real name?
Save it over the one you already did. Just to make it easier. No, just do that.
They haven't issued a single DWI that's from the drag racing. How would you know what they've issued if it's not reported on open data? You're complaining that you can't have access to the reports, but then you're saying the reports are BS that you can't have access to. Walk me through this.
Here we go, sir.
Yup.
Where did you want outside?
Right here.
Oh,
And
you
I'll
want
be
me to
quick.
just the last segment of the show?
Hmm?
We can do it.
Yeah, let's do it last segment of the show. That's a better call.
Oh, okay, so you got PR mattress,
BR match.
Thorns, and then Ghost Line, right?
Yes. Yes to all those.
So hit one up in here. In the center.
Those in the know. Which would be why you're hiding behind a fake name. .805 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hour 3 in mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Thanks again to Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul for stopping by. Talk a little bit about where crime stats are at the, as school's getting back in and summer's coming to a close. 2,074 arrests so far this year. 1,711 of those are felonies. If we'd had a little more time, I probably would have walked down the path of, are you still battling that revolving door that we were looking at earlier in the summer, or has anything been remedied in that regard? But I'm sure we'll have him back on again at some point in the very near future. Coming up this hour, Hunt Palmer is co-host of a new show on middays on our sister station 104.5, 104.9 ESPN. He and Jeremy Hill are teaming up from noon to 2 every day. Going to have him on in our next segment to talk a little LSU football and a little bit about what we can expect from the new show as well. Looking forward to that. Also looking forward to talking to Ginger Guttner later on in the show as she's with the LSU Vet School and Mike the Tiger has been vaccinated. Good to know. Tiger's getting vaccinated. Good to know. How would we even know to test a tiger in the first place? But we'll dive into all that at 8:35. Hey, we have to push the outside in back, so we're going to do that towards the end of the show because right now is when Taylor takes us back in time for This Day in History.
All right, let's get it, Brian. On this day in 1821, Missouri is admitted as the 24th U.S. state.
Cool.
In 1833, Chicago incorporates as a village of about 200 people.
Wait, say that again?
In 1833, Chicago incorporates as a village of about 200 people.
Were they already feeling an inferiority complex to New York at that point, or was that later in their history?
No, that wasn't until 2 years later when Lightfoot became mayor.
Oh.
1876, the first phone call between Brantford and Paris. Brantford's
Okay.
in Canada.
Okay.
First phone call. There you go. 1888.
Did they get the voicemail? It went straight to voicemail?
Yeah.
They were
but they had to
screening
send
them?
it through carrier pigeon.
It's fine.
Send it over to them.
First phone call, and they were screening already.
1888. New York Giants pitcher Tim Keefe sets a 19-game winning streak record.
19-game winning streak? That's pretty good.
It's like more than the Mets, like all time.
Wow.
1897. German chemist Felix Hoffmann first synthesizes some type of long name acid. Okay, I'm getting that. Which would later be patented by his company Bayer under the name aspirin.
Okay.
Aspirin was created.
All right.
I probably could have just said that. 1934. Babe Ruth announces this is his final season as a full-time player.
Wow.
1977. Postal employee David Berkowitz arrested in Yonkers, New York, accused of being the son of Sam Killer.
Yeah, it was this day in 1977. Berkowitz was set up.
Spoiler
Set up.
alert, he was convicted.
Whatever.
You know, it's funny you mentioned someone set up. We may have somebody a little bit lower down the list that could possibly be involved in a conspiracy.
Who's that? Oh, down the list.
I'm
We'll
getting there.
We'll get there.
1993, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, it's not her, sworn in as a U.S. Supreme Court Justice. And she served for, like, ever.
Yeah.
It was. I guess it was about a year and a half ago she died.
Yeah.
So
about
she
that.
served until then, pretty much.
Yeah. Very, very long tenure for Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
In 2019, Jeffrey Epstein found dead of an apparent suicide in his jail cell in New York while awaiting trial for sex trafficking charges.
That was on this day in 2019?
It was.
Wow.
I mean, you want to talk conspiracies?
No, I don't.
He was
I really don't.
committed suicide, or he was
Yeah.
Clinton. To one of the two, you know.
He suicided
Yeah.
on this day.
Birthdays.
Yeah, let's go.
Kylie Jenner, 24 years old. Don't know why she's famous. Ja Morant, 22 years old.
There you go.
Antonio Banderas, 61.
All right.
Andre Drummond, 28 years old. Jimmy Dean of Jimmy Dean Sausage,
All right.
1928. Herbert Hoover, born on this day in 1874. NFL running back Dalvin Cook, 26 years old.
I had Dalvin Cook on my list. for
And
sure.
June Shannon. Do you know who June Shannon is?
No.
That would be Mama June, as in Honey Boo Boo's mother,
Oh, good
42
Lord.
years old.
It's also John Starks, former New York
Former
Knick.
New York Knick.
Riddick Bowe, former heavyweight champion.
I'll pretend like I know who Riddick Bowe is.
Whatever.
National days.
Yes, sir.
It's International Biodiesel Day.
Okay.
That's not celebrated in California.
No.
National
Well, it
Lazy...
should be, though, because it's not traditional gas.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's not electric. It's not celebrated. National Lazy Day.
All right.
It's National Shapewear Day.
National what?
Shapewear.
Okay. I don't know what that is.
It's probably like fit clothing. Yeah.
All right.
National S'mores Day. Yesterday was Someday, so today's S'mores Day.
Okay.
Skyscraper Appreciation Day.
Because who doesn't appreciate a good
skyscrapers get left in the dark on all these, being thankful for them. Look, as far as my appreciation for skyscrapers, it's up there, man. Spoil Your Dog Day.
It's up there. That was 2 puns in a row.
Spoil Your Dog Day.
Nope.
It's World Lion Day.
Okay. Lion?
Yeah.
All right.
No, not lying. Like, you're lying to me, like the animal.
I got you.
U.S. Amateur Golf Week. You know, I'm an amateur golfer.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, we are. It's Weird Contest Week,
Okay.
and it's National Duran Duran Appreciation Day.
Okay, I
To
want to know
appreciate the band Duran Duran.
I want to know the history behind that one. Why is that?
You know, I looked it
Why
up.
is that
They
today?
didn't form on this day. I mean, it was just, this is the day you appreciate their entire catalog of music.
Okay, fair enough.
That is your this day in history.
That is your This Day in History. We're going to take a quick break and come back after that, talk with Hunt Palmer, the host of the new midday show on 104.5, 104.9 ESPN. Before we hit that break, though, got to tell you about the folks over at Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. It is back to school time. If you're moving your kid into an apartment, it's back to college time as well. If you're moving your kid into an apartment, now's the time to get a new mattress. Or if you just want to start the school year off right with a good night's sleep, now's the time for a new mattress. 2 locations of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, 4065 Florida Boulevard or 18180, the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2. 12 months interest-free financing regardless of what you spend. 24 months interest-free financing if you're spending more than $1,500. And if you mention you heard about them on this show, you get free delivery at either location of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. Mitch Kimball and his team have deals going on all the time right now. I can tell you they're getting geared up right now for Labor Day deals that are just around the corner as well. Get by and see them. 4065 Florida Boulevard in Mid-City or 18181 Jefferson, Iowa. It's the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. What's happening, Hunt?
National Amateur Golf Day and Lazy Week. Yeah.
Right?
This sounds great. Which one am I?
Right here.
A week for me to pick up a second job, I guess.
Yeah. How's that going to work? You just going to break away from work in the middle of the day every day?
We'll see if I can do it.
Okay.
Gotta satisfy everybody, but we'll see.
Yeah. You in for pre and post again? Sweet. Y'all on location this year?
So, I mean, as far as we know right now, we're Tiger 1 for home games and road games. It sounds like TJ Ribs and walk-ons are in the mix. He said Pluckers was in the mix. I met with Pluckers yesterday, just about everything, and he was like, yeah, it's too expensive.
I would think it'd be a little too expensive for them. All right.
And Tiger Zone on Wednesdays.
I saw that too. How about that for fun?
I hope people call in. It's going to sound a lot like the midday show if they don't. It's just me and Jeremy doing that and Tiger Zone.
Yeah. Give me just a second here. Heather and Tommy, where y'all at? Where y'all at? Tommy and Heather.
Is it Ted Lasso? Hester keeps telling me to watch it. I'm not watching it. Or wait, is it T-Bone?
Hester's obsessed with it.
With what? With Ted Lasso?
Mm-hmm.
I have. Apparently, I don't have Apple TV. I thought I
watched,
did, but
I watched 3 episodes of it the other day. It's good. I mean, he's funny. It hadn't gotten going yet, but I mean, it's just a ridiculous concept. He's no, he's the head of he's the head coach of Wichita State's football team. They win the FCS national championship, and the owner of a Premier League team hires him. He's never heard of soccer to come coach the soccer team, and she does it because she's going through a divorce. She gets the soccer team. Her husband's obsessed with this soccer team, so she wants to destroy it.
I love the premise.
Yeah, well.
A little bit of Major League in there.
Exactly. He's funny.
Oh, Jason Sudeikis is great. You ever seen We're the Millers?
Oh yeah. I mean, Jen, come on.
Oh, I know.
I don't miss Jen.
$817 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Time to welcome in Hunt Palmer. He's the host of the new show on our sister station 104.5 ESPN middays, noon to 2. It's Hunt and Hill. What's happening, Hunt?
Cranked it up yesterday, day 2.
I know,
We're still
I got to hear
here
a little bit.
I can get in the building. We haven't ruined everything
Your key
after
card
2
still
hours.
works. I know. It's just 2 solid hours of nonstop. So great first show, by the way.
Thanks.
Enjoyed almost all of it, except for the tight end talk, but we'll get to that in a minute. Set the table for what folks can expect for Hunt and Hill.
So, it's a little bit of a different perspective for us. Jeremy's a guy who, was an elite high school player, was a tremendous all-SEC running back, ran for 1,000 yards, was on one of the best offenses in the history of the school, in the history of the SEC, really.
Yeah.
And then played 5 years in the NFL, was on some really good Bengals teams, played for a little bit with the Patriots, was shared a locker room with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and has those life experiences that most of us don't have.
Right.
And then I'm somebody who's just poured probably way too much interest into LSU sports for the last 20 years. And as a 30-year-old, there's not a lot that I've done for over 20 years, but this is one of them. So
Yeah.
I've got more of a historical perspective. He's got the fresh, right off the field perspective, plus a pretty good Rolodex that he can go to get guys on the show. So I think that it's going to work really, really well. We've gotten along great the few months that we've been talking about this, and I covered Jeremy when he was at LSU, so I have a relationship with him from there as well. And so we just think we look at things differently.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, and we're excited to keep this thing rolling.
LSU, you're coming on at just the right time, and you actually mentioned this during the show yesterday. You're coming on at just the right time, not just for football, but across the board at LSU. There's excitement in all 3 of the major sports right now.
Yeah, this is going to be a good football team. Now, they play against a lot of good football teams, so that doesn't mean they're going to run through everything, but they're going to be pretty good. Our basketball team is loaded and is going to be deep and talented and exciting. And then baseball, I think everyone realizes over the last 6 weeks what has gone on over there. Jay Johnson, the new coach, they've got an influx of talent. They got some guys to stick around, and I think that team's got a chance to make a real push in the spring. So a ton of excitement really for all 3 sports. You could tell me that baseball was kind of going through a rebuild and basketball was bouncing back from a 5-5, but that doesn't really tell the whole story. They got a chance to all 3 be really good.
Yeah, and a ton of offense throughout, from football through basketball all the way through baseball. It's going to be an onslaught of offense. Let's talk football for just a minute, or for a few minutes. Yeah. Let's talk football. Coach Ed Ogeron has made a commitment towards recreating the 2019 offense as best you can. Is that the right strategy heading into? Can you ever make a recreation of what was perfection?
You can chase it. You can't recreate it.
Okay.
You can chase it, though, and you can go with those types of principles, which means we're going to put our quarterback in the shotgun. We're going to put a lot on his plate. We're going to have 5 guys on the field around him that are capable of making big plays at any time, and we're going to throw it a little bit more than we're going to run it between the tackles, and that's the premise of it. How well you do it dictates whether or not you want to say you've recreated the offense. But they're very comfortable with Max Johnson back there. He was great in the last 2 games that he started last year when the season was quote-unquote dead. They were 3-5, and he came out there and lit it up against Florida on the road to get a victory and then tore up a putrid Ole Miss defense for Keyshawn Boutte. But there's skill players everywhere, led by Keyshawn Boutte, a couple of running backs who are veterans that come back, plus some freshmen who come in to add some. The entire offensive line is back, and they're going to ask Max Johnson to run this show. Obviously, Miles would have been in the middle of that, but unfortunately he got hurt. So it's Max's team, and I think they've got a chance to be pretty potent on offense.
So let's talk about the receivers first. We'll get to the running backs in a minute. The receivers, Keyshawn Boutte is obviously going to garner all the headlines, a 300-yard game last year. Are we expecting better things out of him than we've seen from Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase in the past?
He's in that mold. I mean, there's no reason to take him out of it. I realized that Justin Jefferson was, an all-rookie player as with the Vikings. I realized that Jamar Chase won the Biletnikoff Award. But Keyshawn's got that kind of ability, and he plays the game similarly to them. They're all, around 6'1", and good athletes. They're not 6'6", freak athlete, long-arm guys. They're just good route runners that are fast and catch things and make people miss in space. So, he's going to be your number one playmaker, and then it's how do you surround him on the outside? They got veterans with John Trey Kirkland and Jeray Jenkins who have made plays in the past. Trey Palmer, my cousin Trey. He's we're speedy guys, and he's a guy that can get out there and make a lot of plays. He's returned 2 kicks for touchdowns in his 2 years, but hasn't done a lot at wide receiver. Is this his time? And then there is a host of freshmen coming up. Jeremy and I are going to talk about that on the midday show today. All these impressive freshmen are coming in. I asked Tommy Moffitt yesterday on the show if he was going to create a 4x100 team in the Olympics team with his football team, who would be on it, and he put Chris Hilton on there, who was a freshman wide receiver who was a track star, along with Keyshawn Boutte and Derek Stingley and Trey Palmer. So speed for days. It's just a matter of who's it going to be. And I heard Ed Ogeron on the morning show with the guys over on ESPN this morning. He said, yeah, we could put 10 receivers out there. I mean, that's how many guys we've got that are talented that can play at this level.
I think the 7-on-7 game has changed the college game for sure.
Yep.
And on up to the pros as well. In the backfield, you're going to have two running backs who have yet to live up to their potential. I actually look at that as a good thing, the fact that they've yet to live up to their potential. When you look at a host of LSU running backs throughout recent years who weren't the big-name guys coming in, the guys who stepped it up when it's time to step up, I feel like that's a different calling card for LSU's running backs.
One thing in this role that I appreciate about Ed Ogeron is that generally when he talks, you can listen to it. I've covered a lot of coaches who just talk into a microphone and don't say anything.
Yeah.
Our opponent's great. Our team's good. Nobody's hurt. We're going to go try to win. I mean, there's nothing to it. Ed Ogeron will tell you, and he has told you multiple times over the last month in front of a microphone, he's ready for John Emery and Tyrion David Price to show up.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years, and we have not seen the production level that we'd like to see from them. It's time to go, and they're in better shape. Ty's lost some weight. John's had LASIK surgery and now can see to catch the ball, which I'm told helps. So they've changed their bodies a little bit. Ty's a little bit injured right now. It sounds like nothing serious at all. But those two guys are being asked to step up and play because behind them it's a couple of freshmen and Corey Kiner and Armani Goodwin. Do you want to lean on those guys too heavily? Probably not. It's time for the juniors to make some plays.
Now, as far as Max Johnson's concerned, we got to see him in, like you said, the last 2 games of last season. Before Miles Brennan got hurt, I couldn't find a time where Ed Ogeron was at a podium and did not mention that 2-0 record. How important is that to build momentum heading into this season? And how important is it for the whole team, ending last season the way they did to come into this year?
I think it gives you some optimism. I think it gives Max some confidence. I can do this. Most of those guys that are D1 athletes are wired to just say, I can do anything, just give me the ball. Mm-hmm. But it certainly has to help to get the positive reinforcement that you've actually seen yourself do it. Same thing goes for Keyshawn Bootsy out there who was with Max and making those plays against Ole Miss in Florida. I think that does help. It helps the morale of the team. It helps I've talked to Jeremy about this. I've talked to Jacob Hester about this. I've talked to T-Bob about this. To have a quarterback out there on the field that the rest of the 100 guys can look at and go, he can get it done for us, that just helps morale out there on the practice field. I mean, because there have been teams that didn't at LSU, and that just it wears on you. And so it's a plus. Does it get you anything, starting the first game of the year? Doesn't count for any points on the scoreboard, but it certainly helps their morale right now.
Is there a position of concern on offense for you?
Yeah, offensive line and tight end. Now, I talked about the entire offensive line being back.
They're all back, and Ed
they weren't very
Ogeron
good
said
last year.
Yeah, but that you got everybody back, and Ogeron's saying, he said at the Rotary Club a couple weeks ago, that's the strength is the O-line.
They're strong. I spent a lot of time next to the offensive linemen yesterday because that's just where they were working out relative to where we could walk on the field, coincidentally. They're large people, Brian. They're very, very large people. And there's no reason that they shouldn't be a solid unit with as old as they are, as big and strong as they are, and as much as they've worked together. Now, last year, there were games where they did not show up.
Yeah.
LSU could not run the football against Missouri. Could not run it against Missouri. Lost the game. Couldn't move it at all through the air or the ground against Texas A&M because they lost at the point of attack. Alabama, same story. They've got to be better, but they're old, they're veteran, they've been together a year, and I'll have a whole segment on this on our show on 104.5, but I'll tease it. This is the same situation Texas A&M was in moving into last season, and their group gelled, meshed, had some all-conference guys, an all-American guy, and put some guys in the NFL via the draft after they were terrible the year before that, and it was the same cast of characters. That's what you got to have.
Well, then that gives me more confidence
Sure.
and concern. Why are you concerned about tight end?
They don't have a lot of them. They had Jalen Sheed was a recruit coming in. He bailed. Nick Storrs had come over from the football team. Big, physical, strong guy who's an older player.
Yeah.
He's got an injury. His football career is probably done. So you look over, and it's Cole Taylor, whose most famous play is a guy throwing his shoe in Gainesville. Yeah. That's about all he's contributed thus far. And then you've got Jack Besh, who was an unbelievably productive player at St. Thomas More last year over in Lafayette, but he's little. I mean, for a tight end. He's a lot little for a college freshman. He's little for a tight end. He's 6'2", 215. That's not very big for a college tight end. Cole Taylor's 6'7", 255.
Taylor's already rolling his eyes. Per Hunt Palmer, when Ed Ogeron talks, he doesn't just talk. You can actually listen to him and believe what he has to say. There's one more in that tight end room that you're not mentioning.
The walk-on?
Yes,
Jack Washburn?
the walk-on. Mashburn.
Mashburn?
Yes.
I heard his name for the first time ever today. So,
Where'd you hear him from?
Coach O.
Yeah. Mentioned him at Rotary the other day, or last week or whatever. Mentioned him in another press conference. Jack Mashburn's coming on strong, man.
If you want to count on walk-ons, that's part of it.
You
But
can't count out walk-ons either.
You can't. But look, it's a thin position. Now, that position has changed from the days of Les Miles where you needed two of them. They had to weigh 270 pounds, and we were going to run downhill and block with them. You split guys out. You run them out in routes, and Besh can do that, and he's going to be a mismatch problem for a lot of people in the slot. But they're light on numbers.
Are we looking at it? So stop thinking of the tight end in traditional tight end sense, but more of an H-back.
That's exactly what it is. It's going to be
Or
a guy
wing back
he'll
for crying out loud.
He'll stand up behind the tackle.
Yep.
He'll split out in the slot, and sometimes he'll put his hand on the ground. More so Cole Taylor than everybody else. You've got to guard against being predictable based on who's in there. Taylor's in there, we're running. Besh is in there, we're throwing. You can't do that.
You're not going to have to dig too far into Jack Mashburn's history to figure out why I'm so high on him.
Is that right?
Yeah, go Wolves. Defensive side of the football.
St. Paul's boy. Huh?
Darn right. We don't get many of them, man. I got two stories running this year that I'm following. I got Mashburn and I got McCluskey. What?
Let's talk defense.
Yeah, let's talk
defense.
I don't get
St.
many.
Paul's.
Dude, I don't get a whole lot of wins in football, man.
Look,
give it to me.
I know it.
Defense, what do we got?
Defense is talented at every level, but you got a new defensive coordinator in Durante Jones. I've said this. I don't shy away from it. This is an underwhelming hire on paper. That doesn't mean anything about his qualifications.
Bo
for the
Pelini
job
was an
or what-
overwhelming
of course,
hire on
he's
paper.
been a head coach and has been great, and it was a disaster.
Yeah.
So Durante Jones comes in. To use the analogy, his shelves are stocked. He's got all the talent he could have. His defensive line is huge. It's veteran. It's got some young talent. And at linebacker, they're going to go 4-2-5, so only two linebackers on the field for the vast majority of the game. He's got guys like Damone Clark and Micah Baskerville who have played big snaps here. You bring in Mike Jones, a transfer from Clemson. You bring in Bug Strong, who's the #1 junior college linebacker. You got numbers there, and then the defensive back, you never have to worry about it. And that's really the strongest point of the defense. Derek Stingley on one side, Elias Ricks on the other side. They're both going to be first-round picks when their day comes, and that's where you start the defense. You let those guys do their work. The other 9 guys, you're really free to use whatever you want. And so no reason this team should not be vastly improved on defense. And it's hard not to be.
The bar is real low.
You were literally the worst pass defense in college football last year. The last one.
I am, of everything going on the defensive side of the football, Mike Jones has me more intrigued and more hyped than anything else going on right now. I don't know why.
It's not a talent issue because he was a 4-star. He has played for Clemson on national title type teams. It's a matter of can he play in the middle of the field? He's more of a guy who runs sideline to sideline, and we saw Jabril Cox come in last year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's making pick sixes on the outside and running guys down. Then they start running the ball between the tackles, and he gets messed up in the wash and knocked out of the way because he just wasn't quite as big enough, quite as physical. That's where Mike Jones has got to make his strides. And you feel pretty good about where Damone Clark fits in there. He's got to play better than he did last year, but he's shown it before. And you feel like Baskerville was maybe the difference maker for their defense late in the year last year at linebacker, so you feel pretty good about him too. And Bug Strong had the hit of practice yesterday, so he's making an impact.
Noon at 2 on 104.5, 104.9, our sister station ESPN Radio here in Baton Rouge. He is Hunt Palmer, co-host of Hunt and Hill. You catch him and Jeremy Hill every single day. Hunt, we always appreciate the time, man.
Always enjoy coming on, Morning Brain.
Love having you on. We got CBS News coming your way in just a second. After that, Mike the Tiger's been vaccinated. Let's talk about it.
Easy as that.
Do what?
Easy as that.
Oh, yeah, always.
Now to the insurance game.
Speaking of, Ed thinks your boy's name is Pat.
And who's his uncle? No, Ed knows Pat from like way back. Like Ed just
He said it like 3 times Friday.
I know. I heard.
He said it on Jordan and T-Bow this morning, so I went and looked him up, and he's like 6'2", 212. It's like, well, wait.
No. He's heavier than that now.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no. He's
225.
I'll tell you exactly what he
Look at
is.
the fall roster. I think he's like 220.
Okay, well, I'll give him a look at practice.
I'll tell you what. Hang on. Pat Mashburn, Jack's uncle, was my journalism teacher freshman year at St. Paul's.
Okay.
We've stayed in touch over the years. Pat says Jack is 235.
Okay, that's better.
Maxed out at 350 on the bench, 320 on power clean. He's up to 235 pounds and hasn't lost any speed.
All right. Well,
I was talking with
how much you bench?
350.
benches more than his power clean.
Yeah.
See right there, he can't play.
Whatever.
Benches more than
Whatever.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just giving out. All right, see you, bye.
Later, bro.
No, his bench is more than his power. No. Well, no.
I mean, well, I'm like, what's his squat? Squat's where the power comes from anyway.
Especially at tight end. What's his front blocking like?
Yeah, because you know Besh isn't blocking.
No.
We're talking front squat or back squat? Front squat.
Back squat, you get more weight. You get more weight on the back. I say, give me the back squat just because you can throw more weight up there. I hurt my
Who created front squat? I was like, you know how you put it on your back? No, that's what they used to do. Yeah. You hold it in the front. Yeah, you put it on your shoulders. What are you doing? Put it on top.
Well, but if you think about it though, that's where you're using it is you're pushing up and forward, not up and backward.
It's like you're working like basically the same muscles except you're killing your wrist doing it in front.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do it though. Dude, sometimes like we wouldn't even like hold it with our wrists.
Oh yeah, like
And what I hate with the wrist thing on the front squats.
What we used to do in high school sometimes like hold it like this.
Yeah.
Cross your arm.
Yeah.
Squat, but the problem is when you're doing that, the bar like shakes. You're not holding it as well.
Yeah.
So I'm like, nah, I'll just hold it the normal way.
Troy says 2 days in and YouTube becomes tiger droppings. Ignore. Yeah, I had to block that guy. Just the legitimate criticism about Chief Paul is fine all day long. Harping on it for 30 different posts, whatever. But when you start crossing the line to take personal insults, that's where I block you. And I could tell right away just by the tenor of who he was. When you use the exact same language as previous people who have gotten blocked in the past.
He works at Dollar General.
Almost certainly.
I'm pretty sure there's 3 posts or something, right? Brian was doing the Slim average, which speaking of, you have any Mathurns and Ghost?
I did Mathurns.
Okay,
Didn't I?
you gotta do Ghost.
Did I? Yeah, Mathurns app.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. You did.
I got to do Go Slim, and I owe Muya a real spot. Which I should separate those two between 2 segments because I don't want to do burgers and weight loss in the same segment.
Do burgers with the tiger side.
You should do burgers then weight loss.
Yes.
Call from 73. I don't know. Call our hotline.
Who?
It's about, it was like, talk on 73. He goes, oh, sorry, wrong number. It's like, we call.
All right.
And it was a guy, too. And I was like, that's not Ginger. And he was like, oh, no, sorry. He hung up. I was like, okay.
She's not calling until 8:40, so I'll knock out Go Slim right here and then do Muya on the last segment.
Help you lose weight? Vaccine. Boom. Speaking of like tiger.
Yeah, because if you don't get vaccinated.
Call 473. Oh, yes, ma'am. We're going to have you in like 2 minutes. I was like, never mind.
You're so fake on the phone.
Ginger. What do you mean? Oh, excuse me, ma'am.
Like I'm nice?
Yeah.
Like, so
You want me to actually like not be nice?
I would just answer the phone.
What the f?
Yeah, just be like, hey,
No.
I'll get you on.
It's not how it works.
Dude, I just hear that stuff.
You know, it's Guttner. Guttner. And it's just a weird name. It's just, yeah. No, that's how you spell it. Oh, I'm going to show you how we tweet out the articles and stuff after the show. Yeah, we use TweetDeck. I don't know if you ever use it. It's not difficult. I mean, it's literally like a lot of Twitter, but you can schedule tweets earlier in the day. Yeah, it's not any different.
Can I just do that for like from my phone?
I mean, I usually do it right after the show, but I mean, like,
No, I mean for like other shows. So like,
yeah, I guess if you knew the password for the Twitter, you could download TweetDeck and how soon it works like that.
Do what?
He was like, for other shows, he's like, can you just do that from your phone? I was like, I'm sure.
Probably.
I'm sure there's a TweetDeck app. No, because all you do with this one, you log into Talk's Twitter, and you just schedule tweets.
What's up, yo? Nothing at all. for about another minute. Yeah.
We good, 9:30?
Yeah, 9:30 Thursday. We're all good.
Cool.
Who you got?
Owner and right-hand person at Fidelis. This is Alzheimer's, not hospice, that my
Okay.
mother
Yeah.
just got put into.
Okay.
They're good. They're gregarious. I've met them. A little home cooking.
Dude, it's a brand new guest, a different business model with a ton of similar themes. It plays it. This is branching out well. It's not home cook. It's where you need to be.
They have residents. It's the opposite of St. James. They have like 8 residents per facility. So
Okay.
It's smaller, quaint. And they have multiple
Gotcha.
facilities throughout stuff. So
Gotcha.
Mama's in a place with 8 other people.
Good stuff.
Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, I'm good to go. Yeah, all set. (8:38) Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Hour 3 in mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So, the headline yesterday reads, Mike the Tiger receives COVID-19 vaccination. Huh. Who'd have thunk it? Joining us now to talk about it, she heads up communications over at the vet school, Ginger Guttner. Ginger, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing very well. Okay, let's start with the very basics. Why get Mike vaccinated?
Well, because tigers are susceptible to COVID-19. So in 2020, we learned that some tigers and lions at the Bronx Zoo contracted the virus. And so the vaccine became available, and we decided it was in Mike's best interest to vaccinate him.
How do you make a vaccine for felines? Like, is this different than what we get with the Pfizer, Moderna, or Johnson & Johnson?
It is a little bit different. So the vaccine that people take is what's called a human mRNA vaccine. So the way, like the technology to get the vaccine into you is a little different. His is what's called a recombinant protein vaccine. So the protein's the same, but like the vehicle's different.
Okay. And is this a two-shot series like we're getting, or is it one and done?
No, it's 2. He got his first shot July 16th, and he got his second shot on August 6th.
On August 6th. So he's all done. Well, I say he's all done. It does take another, well, for the human versions, it takes another week or two to get it fully the whole way through. So we learned that in 2020, some lions and tigers at the Bronx Zoo came down with COVID. Did they show similar symptoms that humans would show?
That I can't remember in particular. And I don't know what the symptoms are. I just know that they released a statement saying that their animals did test positive for it. So I assume they must have showed some symptom to even have them tested for it in the first place.
And I know that, the news story about the lions and tigers at Bronx Zoo said they contracted it likely from zookeepers, and my thought was, dear God, I hope so.
Well, I think that was the assumption.
Bringing it back around to Mike, though, were y'all doing any testing on him beforehand? Like, there's no other way to ask this. Was it someone's job to shove a swab up a tiger's nose?
No, we did not do any testing on Mike. We did take some precautions. Anyone that's visited the habitat, during 2020, even today, there are barricades put up because while we love the fact that the habitat allows you to get very close to Mike, it allows you to get very close to Mike.
Right.
And so once we knew that it was confirmed that tigers were susceptible, we did have barricades put up to keep people a little further back, just to have him socially distanced the way we've all been told to do the same. His caretakers wore masks and gloves. We took every precaution we could to keep him as safe as possible.
So if big cats are susceptible, are house cats susceptible, or any other house pets susceptible?
Well, there is a form of coronavirus that does affect pets.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a doctor, and I certainly don't want to get into that. But if you have questions like that, you can I suggest you talk to your veterinarian.
Okay. Is the LSU Vet School doing a lot of work in this regard, or is this something that just kind of popped on the radar because of another headline?
Do you mean in terms of Mike getting vaccinated?
In terms of COVID-19 or coronavirus or SARS-CoV-2?
Well, we do have a number of people that are working on coronavirus. There's the wastewater testing that's being done around campus and around the city, and so we have researchers here working with And then we have lots of researchers that do work on things like coronaviruses and COVID-19. Now with Mike, Zoetis donated this vaccine to us. They also donated, I think, more than 11,000 doses to animals in zoos and academic institutions and sanctuaries.
Yeah, that's throughout the country, if I'm not mistaken. You say it's pronounced Zoetis?
Yes.
See, I've been mispronouncing that one yesterday and today. Completely butchering it. So 11,000 doses throughout. I would assume that would be for more than just lions and tigers, though.
I'm sorry, I'm having a really hard time hearing you.
Oh, sorry. I would assume 11,000 doses, this would be for more than just lions and tigers, or is this something that was, when it was discovered at the Bronx Zoo, was there any follow-up as to whether or not this would affect, elephants, gorillas, and the like?
I think it does affect specific animals, and so I'm sure that the doses went to those animals that are susceptible.
When it comes to Mike, though, for this upcoming football season, barricades are gone. Visitation would be back to normal, right?
Yes, the plan is to have the barricades down before the first football game.
Okay, that's fair. Now, in all fairness, though, I'm vaccinated too, and I still have to wear a mask. Does Mike?
No, he does not. I think if we tried to, first of all, it'd be fun to try to put a mask on him.
Not volunteering for that gig, by the way.
Long.
I'm not volunteering for that gig, by the way.
No, I don't think anybody would.
Since I've got you on the phone, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming season as more and more people are expected to be back on campus. Tailgating looks like it might be back to a thing. We should be back to a regular college football season, as it were, which means a number of people are going to want to go out and see them. So what can folks expect this year?
On game day?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, again, it's really hard to hear you.
Yeah, I apologize. We've been having that problem.
So I think it's going to be just like it has been the past several seasons. Go out to campus, enjoy your tailgating. Mike will be let out very early in the morning so people can see him all day.
So back to the routines. We're done with the 2020 stuff, and it's back to it. As far as the rest of Mike's health is concerned, I assume all things are good?
Seems to be. His weight is holding steady around 400 pounds, which for a tiger his size is right where it needs to be. He turns 5 on September 13th, so he's doing great.
And still active on social media?
He is.
All good things. Ginger Guttner with the vet school, we really appreciate the update. I'm glad to hear Mike's okay and the COVID's not going to be a problem.
It doesn't seem to be, and we're doing everything we can to keep him safe.
Glad to hear it. We'll talk to you soon, Ginger.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. It's not fair. I'm telling you it's not fair. Mike doesn't have to wear a mask, but I do. Come on. Come on, man. I appreciate Ginger's time on that this morning. It's the headline on the press release says LSU's live Tiger mascot received COVID-19 vaccination. If that doesn't get you perked up, I don't know what does.
Do we know anything about the guy in the mascot suit? Has he been vaccinated?
Probably.
I think that's an important one.
Probably. I would guess so. I would guess so. Yeah, lions in 2020, lions and tigers at the Bronx Zoo were diagnosed with SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19 in humans. It's believed the animals contracted the virus from zookeepers. I can't imagine a scenario in which it was somebody else that they would have contracted it from. All right, we're not nearly done yet. We've got another couple minutes to go in this segment and another segment to go before we're out of here. Our last segment of the show is going to be the outside in. I had to move that back because we kept Chief Paul for an extra segment. What we were supposed to be talking about in that last segment was potential tropical cyclone 6. So what we'll do is we'll move that up here and talk about it in 60 seconds. First, I got to ask what you're doing for lunch today. Maybe swing by Mooyah. Maybe grab yourself a cheeseburger. Maybe take advantage of those fresh ingredients throughout. Buns baked fresh daily. Fresh vegetables cut every day. And burgers, there's all kinds of selections when it comes down to what you can have as your cheeseburger. Mushroom Swiss, A1 cheeseburger, Double Diablo happens to be my favorite. They've got the best queso Nereo. They've got the well dunion. The burger's not well done, or it doesn't have to be at least, but they got the onion strips on it. Or you can make it to your specifications. Swing by Mooyah. Segan Lane, not too far from Industrialplex, or Bluebonnet at Highland Road. Mooyah burgers, fries, and shakes. Oh, by the way, they have gluten-free options. They have the low-carb options with the lettuce wrap. They have the vegan option with the black bean burger. All available at Mooyah burgers, fries, and shakes. So, what's going on in the tropics? Let's talk about it. Fred is not yet Fred yet. The latest numbers show that it's still maximum sustained winds of 35 miles per hour. Picked up a little bit of speed, has potential tropical cyclone number 6 up to 17 miles an hour, moving west-northwest at 17 miles an hour. It is now, as of, 7 o'clock our time this morning? It is now past the Leeward Islands I'm looking at, headed forward towards Hispaniola, and then we'll be headed towards Haiti and the Dominican Republic by about tomorrow afternoon. Still projected to be a tropical storm after it clears the islands, after it clears the Dominican Republic, after it clears Cuba, will regain tropical storm strength, which it's expected to reach tropical storm strength later on today, at which point it will become Fred. It's going to get up to tropical storm, down to tropical depression, back up to tropical storm again before heading into the Gulf of Mexico. It does look early on like it's going to hug the Florida coast. So as of right now, which still, I can't say this enough, way too early to project it. But as of right now, Louisiana does not appear to be a threat, at least not by any time through the weekend, for what will become Fred or is likely to become Fred later on today. So as updates come in, we will have them for you. And in the meanwhile, we send you to the Demco Stormwatch page at talk1073.com. We partner up with the folks at Demco every single hurricane season to make sure you are up to date with the latest information on the storms and with all the precautionary measures that you will need. The Demco Stormwatch page at talk1073.com. All right, we got Your Money Now coming your way. After Your Money Now, we're going to check on the outside in. I'm running through the rundown right now to make sure we didn't miss anything else. We juggled a lot of things around this morning, making sure everything got covered. Do I have a minute here? I do. All right, I tell you what, one more before we get you to Your Money Now. Big day in downtown Baton Rouge yesterday as Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser and the Louisiana Office of Tourism dedicated the 4th marker along the Louisiana Civil Rights Trail. This marker is located at A.Z. Young Park in Baton Rouge. It honors the first and longest march in the civil rights movement. The march was 105 miles from Bogalusa to Baton Rouge. If you don't know the history about this, look this one up. I dug into this a little bit yesterday and was fascinated to learn more about it. First of all, anybody leaving Bogalusa, that's a good thing. But this was something. No, it stinks. This is something that is way bigger than just making jokes about Washington Parish. Started with 25 people. They ended up with 600. And it culminated with the march into Baton Rouge and yesterday the 4th marker along the Louisiana Civil Rights Trail. All right, quick break. Outside in next. Yeah. Yeah, I had more, but I wasn't.
Bam! Knock out a little outside in. I haven't seen Mike Tiger in a while. That's my son who's fat as shit.
Do what?
I said I haven't seen Mike Tiger in a while. That's my son who's fat as shit. Yeah, let him out. Let him out a little bit. Lose some weight. You know what he needs?
What? He does need Go Slim.
He needs a little Go Slim. I know. You fucked it up. Don't let that do anything. Just go like they go.
I hate bailing on an interview. I bailed. I had more to cover with her, like legitimate questions, not the goof around questions. I had more legitimate questions, but if she can't hear me, we've dealt with this before. It went away for like a week.
Well, it started like halfway through the interview, too. Like, we got in the spot. I mean, I cranked you up on the board, but I was like...
Yeah, but that's only going to make me distorted on the air, not have her hear me better.
Can you turn the volume up on your phone, please?
It's not that we've had problems with this on the hotline.
Yeah, it's only the hotline. Like mine one's fine. Yep. Dude, something about this studio. It's scary.
It's love those sweet potato fries, says Tiffany. Yes. Sweet potato fries dipped in honey. If you're not asking for honey when you're getting sweet potato
Wait, where's
fries,
this at?
Mooyah.
Never had them.
They were in for last Foodie Friday.
Yeah, I
last
remember. I
year
didn't
for
have the
Foodie
sweet
Friday.
potato fries.
Oh, remedy that. They'll be in, want to say the week before.
What we got this Friday?
Blend.
Okay.
Yeah. Blend is going to be bringing in, I believe, a filet carpaccio. But we're going to be talking more about wine pairings than anything. He says, "What was the march called?" Just look up AZ Young. It was the Bogalusa to Baton Rouge Civil Rights March, also called the 105 Mile Gauntlet. Wait, do what? Yeah. You want to be good to people that are like that.
Dude, you like pointed, then you pointed this.
8:56, one segment to go here on Talk 107.3 FM. Going to close out with the outside in. First, I got to ask you, how's the gut looking these days? Need to drop a few pounds, maybe adopt a few healthier lifestyle choices. I've been taking part in the Go Slim program for, I guess, a couple months now. I am happy to report that I'm under 20% body fat, well on my way. I'm just a few pounds away from my goal weight, which, considering my percentage of body fats, can be difficult to get to. But the cool thing is, I haven't had to abandon my life to do this. I haven't had to flip everything upside down to do this. Go Slim works with you within your lifestyle. They meet you where you are to help carry you to the finish line. For me, It's the accountability. Accountability. I go in every single week and weigh in. I sit down. I talk about what I've done right, what I've done wrong, why I drink too much. No, we don't get that deep into it. But we talk about what you've done right, what you've done wrong, and how you can work to get towards those goals that you've set with yourself. Adopting better lifestyle choices, better eating habits. This has so many effects throughout everyday life beyond just the waistline. Give them a call at 763-9627, 763-9627, or swing by Bluebonnet at Perkins. They're right there by Rouse's on Bluebonnet. Look at Rouse's. Look to your left. You'll see Go Slim Nutrition. Come on by. I'll be there 10 o'clock on Friday. Come on by. Meet Vicky, meet the team, try out some of the food. Get started with Go Slim. All right. Let's close out with the outside in. Let's get it. Big stories coming from all over Southeast Louisiana from the Attorney General's office. 7 men were arrested after they allegedly tried to meet up with children for sex. Louisiana Attorney General's office says the suspects came from different areas around the region. Most of them were lured to East Baton Rouge Parish by undercover detectives posing as young girls online. Prayog Koirala, Nathaniel of Thibodeau, 23-year-old Nathaniel Thomas of Denham, 27-year-old Maverick Arnold of Denham, 50-year-old Casey Brumfield of Walker, 49-year-old Philip Evans of Marrero, 36-year-old Richard Foster of Walker, and 36-year-old Joseph Key of Mandeville were all arrested in the investigation.
Who would have thought a guy named Maverick would be in trouble with the law?
Maverick. Yeah. Count Livingston Parish in on the vaccination train, according to the Livingston Parish News. 3,147 residents have started their vaccination series in the last week alone. This marks the largest one-week total for the parish since vaccines were first released. Following last week's release of statewide data on assessment tests in public schools, Ascension Parish Public Schools Superintendent David Alexander announced that his school district, along with Central and Zachary, lead the state in percentage of students who achieve mastery and advanced in all grades and all subjects. They're at 48% mastery. Down in New Orleans, the Red Dress Run was canceled. Yep. Going to be pushed back to next year, just like Jazz Fest. That's the outside in. That's going to do it for the show. Fox News Rundown's coming up next. All right, YouTube. Thank y'all for playing along. I can't believe I had to axe somebody on the second day, but it is what it is. It's open conversation is welcome and encouraged. Personal shots, not so much. So, whatever. We'll move on, and we all know who that guy was anyway. So we'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a great day.